Presentism is similar to something called anachronism. Anachronism is when you take something here from the past and you try to apply it to today's time. Do you understand that? You understand this? It's when you take something from the past and you try to apply it to this time. Do you understand? So when they look at because look at the term, they say he's a paedophile, right? When we look at the characteristics of a paedophile, yeah, and the victim, the characteristics and the victim, yeah, you will see no resemblance. Do you understand? So this is why I asked the gentleman here, bro. Name me a paedophile where the father has given the daughter away. Do you know the hadith of the Aisha radi anha? You know the hadith? Do you know who narrated the hadith about the marriage? She did. So you tell me about a victim. Do you know about the victim of paedophile? Read the victims. You know the victim of paedophilia? Read about them. Read about the mental health issues that they have. Read about the perpetrator having predatory characteristics.
Did he marry anyone else besides Aisha at that age?
None. So that's why. But he's scared. You know what? That's why when they use the definition, said what's the term they use? He has continuous. That's what they're saying. He's afraid because you know what it is, right, bro? He won't understand it from a historic standpoint. That's why I said historians, they use the term presentism because they don't apply it because it doesn't. You cannot apply the laws of today, right, to 1600 years ago, to 1400 years ago. Yes, bro.
Are we obliged, i.e. fard wajib,
yes,
something you have to do to marry someone of that age?
No, you don't. It's not fard.
Can an Islamic government, through the maslahah, through the benefit of the society at that time, change the age of marriage?
Allah knows best, bro. But Allah knows best. But if when it comes to rulings, if there's a particular type of situation, yeah, where they was to allow a particular action and they saw that it was causing an overriding harm, then they couldn't intervene. But the most important thing that we need to understand, yeah, is this: the marriage of the Prophet peace be upon him to Aisha radiallahu anha. Let's stick with that, yeah, because there's people that are listening. Like we said, yeah, these people use an emotional argument. When we look at a paedophile and the victim, that's what you need to look at. Aisha radiallahu anha and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, none of them fit those characteristics. Because most of the hadith about the marriage of Aisha was related by who? Aisha herself. Do you understand? When you look at the victim of paedophilia, they have mental health issues. She was one of the greatest scholars of Islam. Do you understand? One of the greatest scholars of Islam. Do you understand? So what these people are trying to do, they're trying to appeal to people's emotional side. Right now, if you were to ask me, yeah, like for example, if I had a 9-year-old daughter, my 9-year-old daughter in this day and age, yeah, and there was a man of 40 to marry my daughter, I would say no. Do you understand? I would say no. Because my daughter at the age of 9, yeah, was not like Aisha at the age of 9. It's a completely different ball game. Do you understand? And there's other issues that come into this affair, yeah, when it comes to puberty, etc. She reached the age of puberty. When we look in history, you will also find, yeah, certain noble people, kings, marrying like Isabella of Valois. I think it might have been Richard II of France. Do you understand? They married for particular type of reasons. She was at a very young age. Yes, she was very young. Do you understand? Oh, so what they try to do here, they're just trying to use an emotional argument. Oh, would you marry a 9-year-old? Would you marry? No. Why don't we look at the context? But this guy is not educated enough. That's what I'm telling you. Historians, they don't use this. They, do you know what it is? Do you know what historians call it? They call it a type of cultural bias. They call it a cultural bias, presentism. Because you cannot apply. How can you look when you look at a paedophile compared to the Prophet? There's no resemblance. But he's probably never heard of the word presentism, never heard of the word anachronism. He's just an emotional guy, and he looks like he's on drugs. I don't know, he might be, bro. I don't know. You understand? But no, they're not. Yeah, it's not. But they're not willing to look at this, bro. Do you understand? This is what I was trying to say to our Muslim brother here. Yeah, it's not about educating them. It's about educating the people, because there's people that's listening. So it's not about him. That guy. You can see he's unintelligent. It's about educating the people, bro. You understand? He's never heard of the term because he has his opinion. But I'm telling you, historians, they don't even use it. It's presentism, bro. Because you cannot take I mean, in some examples, you can. Like murder is murder, rape is rape. Do you understand? But in this particular instance, bro, imagine that, yeah, having a paedophile where the father approves of the marriage, where the mother approves of the marriage, where the society approves of the marriage. The Prophet, peace upon him, had so many enemies. He had so many enemies. They called him all sorts of names. Not one of them condemned this. You will find no narrations, yeah, where his enemies condemned this. Do you understand? And if I understand it rightly, it was only about maybe roughly, I don't know, maybe 100, maybe less than that, yeah, where the first person criticized. There were even other historians, they never criticized this marriage.